Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me on today's podcast for grounding and protection. So, let us just begin with asking or answering the question: so, what's grounding and protection? It sounds an obvious thing to some people, but to others who are beginning to awaken to a pathway of spiritual development, of knowing themselves, or just generally wanting to have a better day because they're constantly feeling drained. So, grounding is the ability to put roots down, imaginary roots down, through the soles of your feet to anchor you into the earth plane. We'll have a look at protection in a moment. This grounding earths you. It allows all negative energies to flow through you and from you when you connect correctly with it. It's important to do grounding whether you're a spiritual practitioner, a health worker, a counsellor, somebody working in a busy office, somebody who is a rep on the road all the time. Everybody really, everybody should do grounding. And grounding is a really good way of staying present in the now and staying focused. Remembering that you are energy before you're human. And over the years, I've explained grounding in many, many different ways. From having tree roots coming out of the soles of your feet, through imagery and creative visualization techniques, to having roots and light coming up from the soul, through the soles of your feet. I particularly like this version that an Aborigine taught me, and I'll go through some of the techniques a little bit later. But let's just get your head and your mind thinking about, well, what's the reason I should do it? If it's going to make you feel better, then there's a reason in itself. If you also have days where you're just so can't get your act together, you're so all over the place, and I call this jacaranda energy, where your energy feels like it's scattered all over the universe. And why I call it jacaranda energy is because there is an essence from the Australian bushflower range called jacaranda that actually allows you to bring your energies right back into alignment to self, so that they're no longer scattered. But if you were to even take that essence, you still wouldn't be grounded. So grounding really means that you are in connection with the earth, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So what happens when we don't ground? Let's have a look at a normal day. You get up, you get ready for work or your busy day ahead of you, and you go about your business, thinking nothing of whether you're grounded or not. You continue to do this every day throughout your life without thinking about grounding and or protection. And you constantly realise that you are feeling so drained and so energetically lifeless, it's kind of bonkers. When you start grounding, it is the ability to earth yourself and ground yourself before anything else happens in your day. If you don't do this, then you will feel things like being lightheaded, being not connected to the world, being out of sorts, completely just not being able to function some days. That's because you've come unearthed. There are many things that can unearth us or unground us. Everyday stresses of life, the frustrations of sitting in traffic, other people around us who tend to be of a negative vibration. I call those psychic vampires or leeches. And even buildings can drain you of your own natural life force energy. And this is the reason that when you go to the ocean, or when you go and sit in an open space or a woodland or a meadow, you can get quite quickly recharged with life force energy. And remembering, as I've said earlier, that you are life force energy before you're anything else. So if you was to wake up and start to wake up before you jump out of bed, just imagine that when you put your feet on the ground, take a couple of seconds to breathe, even a minute. It's not going to kill you, and it's not going to use up any more time. It's going to give you more time in terms of you're going to feel more vibrant throughout your day. So as you turn your feet out of bed and you place them firmly on the ground, don't do anything, just sit there for 1 minute. And not even 1 minute. Just be consciously aware that your feet are now firmly on the ground. And up through the soles of your feet, you can feel what I term as Gaia, Mother Earth's energy coming from her heart centre. And they're her strands from her heart that will ground you and earth you into the earth plane. And that energy rises up through the soles of your feet. Imagine her hands now reaching up through the soles of your feet and grabbing you round the ankles and holding you steadfast to the earth plane. Now you can move. That will be your grounding. And what that grounding also helps to do is open a way for negative energy to flow away from you. So if you're having a really bad day, you can imagine these roots opening up, not that they should be closed, but opening up like a drain pipe, and just everything that's coming at you is just flowing through you and down out through the soles of your feet and into Mother Earth, where she can then transmute it into light to feed the earth. She can also give it back to you in a healing vibration. So once you've done your grounding bit and you start to do it every day, you will feel a difference. You will feel a difference within the minutes that you do it. What you have to do is put the effort in. And it is a matter of creating it as a habit, a bit like you get out of bed and probably the first thing you do, maybe go to the bathroom or maybe go and put the kettle on. That little bit for everybody's different. So just add it to your routine of, before I get out of bed, I'm going to ground myself, because I know that it's going to make me feel so much better throughout the day, and I'm not going to be able to be pulled off course so much. So just imagine that these roots, that you are, just imagine for a second that you are, before you're the roots, that you are a tiny plant in the ground, and all of a sudden your roots come free from the soil. You don't grow very well, you're a bit limp throughout the day, until somebody comes along and puts that back in the ground, and the soil surrounds you, and your roots are now embedded in Mother Earth again. You can grow strong and you can stand upright. So having roots is like being like a tree. You are the tree trunk, and you need to be steadfast below you in order to stand up in the world. Putting your roots down will allow you to have the ebb and flow of Mother Earth's energy through the soles of your feet. And there are many techniques. Some people who I've offered advice to over the years couldn't get into the rhythm of doing it before they get out of bed, because it was just natural habit for them to spring out of bed or fall out of bed and roll out of bed and bimble their way into the morning via the shower. So I said, well, do it when you're in the shower then. There's another place you can ground. You can wash away the energies of the night through the shower being a waterfall over your head. And as you're doing that, you can imagine roots going down through the soles of your feet and roots coming up through the soles of your feet to anchor you and to have the ebb and flow of whatever goes on in your day shift out through the soles of your feet. And even on your in-breath, you're breathing in Mother Earth's energy through the soles of your feet. Just a great way of anchoring you into the earth plane. And everybody will feel so much better if you begin to do this on a daily basis. And if needed, do it throughout the day until you get into the rhythm of the practice and you start to feel the major benefits that it can offer you. So, on to protection. What's that about? Well, as it says, it protects you from negative energies, psychic leeches and psychic vampires that leech away your energy and even buildings. And especially if you're an empath, which is somebody who's super sensitive and can feel energy, not just from people but from surroundings, from their surroundings. Ever been to a party and just got that vibe? Oh, there's something not quite right in here. Ever been to a house that you wanted to buy and thought, no, this isn't the one? That's what protection is about. It protects you from absorbing into your own energy field negative vibrations that then can actually get your own energy vibration, which may have been strong in the morning, to actually weaken throughout the day. And you will find that this is very apparent when you go to large shopping centres. You come back feeling absolutely drained. It's because the life force energies of others around you may not be grounded and protected in their own space, and they leech off other people and feed. They're like feeding vampires that feed on energy. And the other place that you'll find where you'll lose a lot of energy is if you go to a trauma ward at a hospital. A hospital generally can often be very draining. A cancer ward, leukemia ward, anybody that's passing away and their life force energies are really weak. This can be another place where you will just have your own life force energy feel like it's draining away from you. So bearing this in mind, what can we do about it? How can we protect ourselves from it? Well, you can't protect yourself all the time from everything. It's a bit like a management system that if you manage the energy better on a daily basis, then you're going to feel the benefits of it. And nobody can stay unless you're a monk in a monastery or a nun, a recluse. You can't actually stop vibration from hitting you. What you learn to do with it, though, is that you learn to disengage with it, not absorb it, and then also dump it. If you have absorbed it, then dump it. And get back into your own vibration as quickly as possible. And when I say your own vibration, I'm talking about going to get yourself grounded and protected again. So the protection part, there's loads of techniques that you can use. And that's to wrap yourself in a cloak of light. You can call upon archangels and angels if you believe in them and ask them to cloak you with their protective light. You could call upon the Christ energies of Jesus or God Himself, if you believe there is such um, an energy, by whatever name you give it. You can also imagine that you're an orb of light, and on the outside it has mirrors that bounce away negative frequencies. You can build a pyramid of light. Imagine a pyramid of light around you. You can imagine that you've got oil around you, that you're in a ball of oil, and the water slicks off you, the water being the negative vibration. Negative vibration can come from people, atmospheres, spaces, lots of things actually. But just because it's there doesn't mean to say you have to absorb it. You can reflect it, you can bounce it back, you can set the intention to be just pure light. And sometimes that pure light can be so strong that you attract negative energy towards it, because it's like moths being drawn to a flame. That weaker vibrational people, sick people or unhappy people, get drawn to this light that you're pulsating out from your energy field. So there is the ebb and the flow again, just to be aware that some people get drawn to you because you're so vibrationally high in frequency and you have so much protection that they see it as something to be drawn towards, because they can then leech off of it. So just bearing all that in mind is just become more aware of whether you are protecting yourself throughout the day. Wherever you go, whether you do psychic work or not is irrelevant. Everybody has energy around them. Everybody goes and walks through life into buildings. And again, this is why it feels so refreshing to stand in a woodland or by the ocean or on the top of a mountain under a waterfall. But if you was to just allow these energies to dissipate from you when you collect them, instead of holding on to them like putting them all in a rubbish bag, carrying it around with you forever, then you won't feel so exhausted all the time. So building yourself a beautiful creative light around you every day, even at the same time as doing your grounding. You can imagine that grounding energy just building inside of you and then expanding out from you to build a beautiful creative light around you that has mirrors on it that refract negative energies back to whence they came. As long as you set the intention to be protected and grounded throughout your day to the highest good and to harm none, then your intention is set for the day. Intentions are what make things happen. When you set your intention, you set a vibrational frequency out into the universe, and the universe has to send it back to you as a reality in accordance with the law of attraction. It's a bit like gravity. What goes up must come down. What you give out must come back. And this is where a lot of things that are done by people who cast spells and work with Wiccan energies, and I'm going to say mainly spell casting as a topic. All that is intention, a very, very strong intention that is set into herbs, magical items, and then set free. So there's nothing magical about magic. It's the intention that's attached to it that causes the damage or the harm in some cases, or the good and helpful and the vibration in other cases. So everything can be used for negative reasons. But there's nothing to be afraid of, because fear is a debilitating energy, and it will just ground you and stop you and hold you in that same space of fear, false evidence appearing real. So, ground yourself and protect yourself, my friends, every single day. Even if you don't go out into the world, energies can still flow through and get you from other spaces. But don't be afraid of them, they're just energies. But to ground yourself and protect yourself from negativity is a wise practice. The more you do it, the better you become at it. So thank you for joining me on this podcast, because that's all we have time for today. Namaste, my friends. Namaste.